Ladies and gentlemen, the Inspector General report regarding the use of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant on Carter Page and how the FBI and the intelligence community obtained this warrant, what they put in the application, what was verified, what wasn't verified, and a whole bunch of other issues. The Inspector General report is going to highlight a whole bunch of irregularities, unusual behavior, bizarre misconduct, unorthodox approaches, protocol that happened to be circumvented. I'm not banking on the Inspector General report to be this grandiose document written by Tom Fitton or Paul Sperry or John Solomon or any person who knows exactly what's going on, Joe DeGeneva, Victoria Tenzing, Dan Bongino. I'm not expecting the Inspector General report to make definitive statements. Now, the last IG report, although it's going to shed light and illuminate what's going on, there are going to be major revelations, and combined with the declassification process, everything will be there to start criminal investigations and indict people. But I'm not expecting the IG report to say, yeah, the FBI deliberately framed President Trump. That's something that William Barr is looking into and investigating. He knows what's going on. He's not just looking into it. He's investigating. It's a criminal investigation. You already have Andrew McCabe, who was under criminal investigation. James Baker is under criminal investigation. The one person who was basically taken to task and who was told by the IG, or the IG stated, hey, this person should be actually indicted, is McCabe. So the last IG report, it was, well, Peter Strzok, we have all of these issues, and, well, we couldn't find any prosecutorial evidence of bias. Of course there was bias. So, at the end of the day, we had Sessions. Now we have William Barr. When you combine the IG report and the declassification process, documents related to the IG report's finding of unusual and bizarre and strange and peculiar protocol, because that's what this government official who is tasked with investigating the government is going to say. In a rare case with McCabe, who just lied under oath 3 times because his wife was given $800,000 or $600,000 to $800,000 by Terry McAuliffe and Democratic PACs. So that was a categorical statement by Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General. But John Durham doesn't really need Michael Horowitz to state anything categorically. He doesn't need that, and that's, I guess, the point. Don't expect the media, don't expect the Democratic Party, don't expect former intelligence officials who are beholden to Democrats to actually say, oh yeah, that's really bizarre. The fact that they rushed the FISA approval process without any regard for verifying the Steele dossier, which happened to break protocol. That's really bizarre. Don't expect anyone to give an inch. What's going to take place eventually, I believe, this is what I see, is that you finally have a Department of Justice that is the biggest adversary, the biggest political adversary of Democrats. After Trump, William Barr is the biggest political adversary of Democrats. Gee, wondering why Sessions wasn't. By the way, you're going to hear Ronald Reagan at the end of this segment talk about how much he loves FDR. So I made like a reference to FDR being a better president than President Trump. I think that's like pretty obvious. FDR is one of the great presidents we've ever had. Now, I think also Reagan is one of the great presidents we've had. Looking back at his history, I never used to think that way, but now I've opened my mind and I'm not so much, led by ideology. So it's okay to say Reagan was a great president. It's also okay to say FDR was a great president. And guess what? Reagan loved FBR. Reagan loved FDR. Say it again, slowly. For the people like in my last segment, the whole thing was like 30 minutes of how great Trump is. And I say one thing about FDR, and one guy is like, I'm unsubbing. It's like, what? And so with each person who's like, FDR's a socialist. I just put, this is the Reagan Library, where Ronald Reagan, who's not a socialist, or nobody ever called him a commie or anything like that, talks for 7-8 minutes straight about how much he loves FDR. Anyway, that's whatever. You have to deal with things like the Q nonsense, message boards, and then people are like indoctrinated. It was a socialist. It's like, no, it was the Great Depression. It was in the context of, anyway, doesn't matter. Don't believe me, Ronald Reagan. Anyway, and you'll hear his words at the end of this segment. So if you don't believe me, hopefully Ronald Reagan will change your viewpoint on FDR. People are going to get indicted eventually. They committed crimes. And right now they're just banking on the media to help them out, to give them political cover. You still have people within the United States government beholden to the media. They look at society and they say, oh, my goodness, the media has so much influence on people's lives. No, it actually doesn't. It does to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, if it's a choice between Clinton and Trump, they're going to choose Trump. If it's a choice between Obama and Clinton, or Bernie and Clinton, they're going to choose anyone aside from Clinton. Clinton's running again. Hillary Clinton is running again. They're not going to stick with Botox Biden. She will lose again. The media will go in overdrive. I mean overdrive. If you thought people who voted Trump were deplorable last go around, oh my God, they'll find another adjective. They'll find, reprehensible. You'll be the reprehensibles. I'll be a reprehensible. I wasn't a deplorable last time, but I'll be a reprehensible or a horrendous or whatever. They're going to go into overdrive. They'll still lose. But the media does not have as much influence as the elite kind of government official like Peter Strzok thinks. You have Peter Strzok said, we'll stop Trump. You have James Clapper, who knew there was no evidence, but still came out with intelligence reports. And I explained that in my Federalist article below. The ODNI and DHS reports don't list any evidence of Trump-Russia, and yet they still went and started the Mueller probe. James Comey leaked classified memos. According to Chuck Grassley, they're classified. That's another thing with the media. They don't dig or investigate on anything they just don't really want to. So if you look up on media reports, you'll find that his memos weren't classified, there hasn't been evidence that the memos were classified. Senator Chuck Grassley had to look at them in a skiff. So yeah, they were classified. And I explained that in my last two Federalist articles about James Clapper and about the 18371 statute. And that's the statute for people who conspire to defraud the United States government, which is what they tried to get Trump on. There is no collusion statute, but there's the 18371. That's going to be utilized against them. They utilized government agencies, whether it's Sally Yates, Andrew McCabe, and James Baker. the top FBI legal counsel, who's also under criminal investigation along with McCabe, who signed off on FISA warrants before a lady named Tricia Anderson, who was the head of the department within the FBI that should have signed off on the warrant. Whether it's that, and the IG report is going to shed light into all of this. So, I mean, it's going to be, the IG report's going to be a lot of great information. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm absolutely wrong, and Horowitz says, yo, you need to indict this person and indict that person, indict this person, and I would be so happy. There's going to be revelations. There are going to be major, major revelations. That's without a doubt. Whether the IG report masks them or cloaks them in the language of bureaucracy, tries to put a wet blanket on, the most important information, that'll be irrelevant in the long run because you have John Durham and William Barr, who are both conducting a criminal probe. And you have President Trump, who's given William Barr the authority to declassify documents. So we find out exactly why the United States of America used a dossier purchased by Clinton. We find out why the United States of America allowed a third-party tech firm to be outsourced by Democrats. I mean, these are grandiose issues. Now you have Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler and James Clapper and Brennan Trundle, and all of these people who don't want information to be declassified, yet they want to harp and spend forever on the Mueller report. They definitely need the unredacted version, so they don't mind. And the Mueller report resulted in absolutely no indictments based on working with Russia or obstruction. Now they're saying, well, it doesn't matter because there were contacts with Russia. Well, why? The rebuttal there is, well, how come nobody was charged under the collusion statute? Well, Trump had so many contacts with Russia. So what? Even in the Mueller report, it says none of these contacts amounted to anything, and in aggregate, they don't amount to anything either. So what? It's not illegal to have contacts with Russia or China or any other country. And the contacts they talk about are absurd. Like people that have no direct link to the Kremlin. And then, it's like they want you to make direct lines, direct logical conclusions. Because somebody in Trump's campaign met somebody. And the main people, Natalia Veselnitskaya, Joseph Mifsud, those are like people that haven't even been interviewed by Mueller. People with no links to Putin. No direct links to Putin. But what they say is, well, we couldn't find collusion, but gosh, he had so many Russian contacts. So what? That's not illegal, nor should it be suspicious. You're trying to paint Trump as this xenophobic monster, and yet Democrats engage in the most, not surreptitious xenophobia. It's the most overt, grandiose xenophobia. I mean, you're trying to replay and relive and usher in a new Cold War, which they've already done, only because you lost the election. And liberals, on the people on the left, they eat it up. They just eat it up. So you'll have the IG report. You'll have the declassifying of documents, and I do believe that documents will be declassified hopefully before the IG report, but definitely after the IG report, pertaining to these peculiarities, these abnormalities, these bizarre occurrences. Because I love it when you have like people who are extremely intelligent, like Sam Harris and Ben Shapiro. They're very, very intelligent. They're brilliant individuals, but they haven't read the ODNI and DHS reports, warranty disclaimers. Literally, they have warranty disclaimers. Judgments are not based on fact. Judgments are based on fragmented evidence that is often fragmentary and incomplete. So I explain in my Federalist article, I actually link to the disclaimer. This report, this is the Department of Homeland Security and FBI. This report is provided as is for informational purposes only. The Department of Homeland Security does not provide any warranties of any kind regarding any information contained within. DHS does not endorse any commercial product or service referenced in this advisory or otherwise. Then you have, from the OD&I report, the James Clapper report, judgments are not intended to imply we have proof that shows something to be a fact. So you hear these things like, facts don't care about your feelings, and okay, great. Well, here, judgments are not intended to imply we have proof that shows something to be a fact. Assessments are based on collected information, which is often incomplete and fragmentary. High confidence in a judgment indicates that judgments are based on high quality information. Okay, such judgments might be wrong. There's a sliding scale for highly confident, moderately confident, but there's no certainty. There's no certainty in the document, in the OD&I report. And this is all the three intelligence agencies that said, well, we're moderately to highly confident. The NSA is only moderately confident. The DNC was even hacked. Phrases such as we judge and we assess, and terms such as probable and likely convey analytical assessments. I don't care what their analytical assessments are. These are highly politicized agencies, and they've been so since their inception. High confidence generally indicates that judgments are based on high-quality information. High confidence in a judgment does not imply that the assessment is a fact or certainty. Such judgments might be wrong. And there's a remote, almost no chance, and almost certainly, nearly certain. The best they have is nearly certain or almost certainly. Then you have James Clapper, who says, we don't do intelligence, we don't do evidence, we do intelligence. Sorry, if you don't have evidence, you can't send people into military conflicts, and you also can't plunge the country into a new Cold War. Sorry. You can't do that. And that's why I say, at the end of the day, it's a situation where you have President Trump who's fighting back, and the fact that he's fighting back is a very, very good thing. The fact that he's fighting back against the same people that did Bernie Sanders in. These are the same people who engaged in trying to undermine and remove and oust a duly elected president. Before that, they went after Bernie Sanders. But the left is there are too many imbeciles, and there are too many people who are afraid to have an individual, to display or convey individual thoughts. If you're not part of the herd, if you're not part of the cool crowd on the left, they will descend upon you. With me, At first I kind of cared a little bit. I was like, wait, what's going on? People were writing hit pieces on me, but then I realized, okay, it's a cult. I have to get out of it eventually. Probably going to have to get out of it. And the day the DNC sued Russia, President Trump, Assange, and, or I should say, Trump, Russia, the Tooth Fairy, Loch Ness Monster, because the DNC emails were going to go. They filed these ridiculous lawsuits. I was like, no way. I'm officially becoming a Trump supporter. Because only President Trump is going after these people. Only President Trump is opposing these people. The left thinks that, well, it's an inconvenient alliance, but at least they're on our side. And this is a not only a short-term, ridiculous, absurd approach to politics, but it's like they're the ones, the left is the side that forms alliances with people who are insidious. They paint President Trump as this racist monster, but I explain actually the opposite is true. Clinton, in both action and word and deed, infinitely worse on the issue of race and everything else. I explain in my last segment, which apparently became people were infatuated that I said FDR. We'll get to Ronald Reagan in a second. Here. My God Almighty, can't do any. I did a 30-minute segment yesterday, 30 minutes, and the only thing people, like a lot of people thought of was like, how could you say that FDR was good? I was like, what? Ronald Reagan loved FDR. Here's Ronald Reagan, okay? Don't trust me. Trust Reagan.
The ordinary American. I remember that voice of his as we've heard it here today, coming over the radio, its strength, its optimism. I wonder how many of us in this room know that to this day, no program in the history of radio has ever...
I hope you can hear this. I don't have the speakers of my other computer, but hopefully you can hear this.
The audience he had in his fireside chats. I remember how a light would snap on in the eyes of everyone in the room just hearing him, and how because of his faith, our faith in our own capacity to overcome any crisis and any challenge was reborn. In this sense, FDR renewed the charter of the founders of our nation. The founders had created a government of...
FDR renewed the charter of the founders of our nation. Doesn't sound like a commie to me. This is what he said. Hopefully you can hear it with this. FDR renewed the charter of the founders of our nation. Ronald Reagan is saying this, so it's okay. It's okay. And if you disagree with me, it's fine. I mean, you could disagree with me. You could disagree with me. It's totally fine. I'm just saying that for people to be like, for certain individuals who I respect, and thank you for watching, to be outraged, I find it a little bit bizarre. Like I said, like one guy was like, he unsubbed. I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Our faith in our own capacity to overcome any crisis and any challenge was reborn. In this sense, FDR renewed the charter of the founders of our nation. The founders had created a government of we the people. Through a depression and a great war, crises that could well have led us in another direction, FDR strengthened that charter. When others doubt, he said that we would find our salvation in our own hands, not in some elite, but in ourselves. We'd find it where we'd always found it, in the towns, on the farms, in the stores and factories across America.
So I'll go ahead and if you'd like, with my other I have speakers with my other computer, and I'll play it or whatever. You can play it below. It's President Reagan's remarks at the Franklin D. Roosevelt Library luncheon on January 10th, 1989, and this is the Reagan Library on YouTube. So, anyway, expect a great deal of information that you and I find very important from the IG. Expect a great deal of information that you and I find important, that John Solomon, Dan Bongino, Paul Sperry, Kimberly Strassel, Sarah Carter, Joe DeGeneva, Victoria Tenzing, Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch, Expect information that we all find illuminating. And expect that information to be utilized alongside the declassification process. But the IG report alone, I'm hoping that I'm wrong and that it's just, in your face, left and right, he's exposing corruption. What'll take place is the Democratic Party and the media will circle the wagons and close ranks. They're not going to take any, even if whatever they hear, they're not going to care about. They're just not going to care about. So, give me your thoughts below. Check out my writing in the Federalist, the Daily Caller, the Jerusalem Post. It's in the pinned comment. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. Your support is greatly, greatly appreciated, especially going into the next year and a half, where it's just important to have independent voices out there, and especially we're going to have a celebration in 2020. President Trump's going to win. And for me, it's therapy. Talking to you is therapy. Even though I'm annoying sometimes, I know I annoy people. But I'm always me, and I just appreciate the people who enjoy my voice. And just thank you very much. This next year and a half is going to be amazing. Thank you very much. I will check the channel numerous times today.